got these two photos of Bracken here. One of them where he's like Superman in across the lawn, and the other one where it's just the lawn. So I'll drag and drop that photo in, and then hold Shift, select the background, and then come up here to Edit and Auto Align Layers. And this will line up both those layers. It did pretty well. You can tell the guys who shot this moved the tripod just slightly because you can see those little bits of transparency along the edges here. But that's okay, because what we can do now is just go to crop and crop this in a little bit. I'm cropping to a 5x4, which is also the 8x10 size, which is like standard printing. So I'm going to move this in like that and crop it down. Now what I would do is grab this top layer and add a layer mask. And once I do that, I can zoom in and start painting black. And wherever I'll paint black, it'll show up through the background. Just a reminder, if we're painting with the brush and it's at 100% hardness, you'll notice a huge color change like what we see here, versus if the brush is set down, it'll be a little bit more faded, a little bit harder to tell. So making sure to keep that brush soft, not at the 100% hardness. We'll have to like harden the brush up a little bit to like 80 or 90 as we get closer to the body. But the other thing we can do is grab tools like the magnetic lasso, and this will try to stick to the edges of different colors, so we can just draw around that area. Hit the brush, do that real quick so the line's clean. And yeah, that's pretty solid for like a minute of work. That's one way to do it. The other image I got from Chris in German was of German falling. So let's open that one up. And this one's going to be a little bit more challenging. And I'll drop in this second layer. So again, selecting both, edit, and it won't let me go to auto align layers because I have this little paper icon right there. So I have to right click on this and go to rasterize. Now that I've got both there, I can come back here, edit, auto align, line them up. And let's get that one with German on top there. And I'll do the same thing, cropping, bring it in a little bit right there, and hit enter. So with this one, what's the difficulty here, Chris? What's going to be difficult about this one? I was going to say this bar right in front of his arms. Yeah, so as we're doing this, we'll do the same exact thing. We'll add the layer mask. We can paint in with that brush to get rid of these areas. But we're going to have a little bit more of a challenge with it because of the bar going in front of his arm. And with that, we're going to have to use some of the tools we learned earlier in the year, like the clone stamp, like the healing brush, where we're going to like sample bits of his shirt. So I'll just like click right here. Oh, and I'll have to switch over to the picture, not the background. So now if I sample from the shirt there, and I can paint this in. I'm going to have to paint that in again. And maybe because those colors aren't merging well enough, I want to use the healing brush instead. So again, I can like sample from this spot, paint it in. The line's not too clean, so I'm just going to work on trying to line that up. Make it look a little bit more natural. Or even just sampling like plain areas to get rid of some of those wrinkles, just like we did when we had to repair those busted photos. I can do that right there. I'm just going to remove that whole seam. So that part will look kind of natural once we're zoomed out, or at least way less noticeable than the bar. And I'll do the same thing with this sleeve here, painting this in. Maybe even grabbing like some basic tones from there. And then doing the same thing, sampling like the grass. Painting that grass in. Just trying to make it look a little bit more natural. And I would spend a little bit more time working on that hand, but just be aware if the arm goes behind like a bar, it's going to be a little bit harder to delete it. We'll have to do the same thing here with his back, but it'll just take some time to edit it.